Hey gang, Scott Davenport here. Welcome to In Post. Thanks for joining me today. Today's photo is a black and white image, and it's really all about the midtones. If you watched In the Field earlier this week, you saw where I captured this very long exposure, about 5 minutes, as waiting for a sunset to do its thing, and ended up with this image, which I worked on quite a bit to get to this state here. And as I thought about the processing, what was really important was shaping the various bits in the foreground, playing up these brighter patches, which if you saw the color photo, those were like green, yellowish mosses, making those show up, keeping this really dark ridge here, just so there was a lot of nuance and interest in these shapes. And what really kind of brought this all together was a couple of adjustments dealing with the midtones, like the low midtones in particular, but working with the midtones. So I want to show those to you here. The first was in the tone curve. Now this is a pretty kind of wacky tone curve, a lot of different points, but mainly what I'm doing here is these points here are kind of like anchors to prevent changing too much in the center midtones. And then these down here are dealing with the low midtones, and made sure not to lose any highlights. But watch the foreground area here when I toggle this off and on, before and after. See how those very low midtones, like these underpinnings of these shadows on this curve and here, get a little deeper. One more time, before that change and after. And that one change really added an extra level of nuance, more depth into the foreground. There was one other additional change I did just for this area here. Let me go into the graduated filter area and just see if I pick the correct pin. Let me hover over that for a second. Yep, that's the one. So this green area, this is everything that this filter's affecting, right? So just this area. But notice the range mask. We're targeting it. I'm not affecting the shadows. I'm not affecting anything from the mids all the way up to the highlights. It's these lower midtones that are getting a little boost in exposure. So kind of almost doing a counterplay to the subtle darkening I did on these curves here with this localized gradient. Hover over that one more time. You can see the very deep shadows. Those are not green. They're not being affected. They're not getting that exposure pop. But let me zero out that exposure for a minute before, and then undo after. You can see it brightens it up just enough so that there's more play in that area of the photo, that space, and it really just gives a nice amount of dimension to it overall. So I found those two adjustments to be interesting. Thought I'd share that with you in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got questions, drop them below. And until next time, my name is Scott Davenport. Have fun.